Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first in a six-part series of webinars based on conquering the value proposition, something that we know is very important in today's marketplace. This week, we're going to be focused on establishing a vision and creating a mission, goal, and actionable priorities for each major area of the golf operation. That's what we're going to focus on in this specific thing. I am fortunate today to be joined by Patrick Seether, who will serve as our guest participant to ask any appropriate questions that might be interested in. Patrick, welcome, and do you have anything you want to start with?
Well, thanks, Bob. I appreciate you having me here today. And I thought, we might just, before you started with your presentation, might ask you, how have you developed the information here? What's led you to this?
Patrick, that's an excellent question to start out with, because I think it's very important for people to understand where this came from. This is based on real-world experiences. Our real-world experiences of working with over 50 clubs in hiring a golf professional, some of which we've done from the beginning to the end and understand all of those processes that go on. It's working with golf professionals and going through negotiating their contracts and how do you establish value and worth. And all of these things kind of came from that, and also working with golf professionals in building operational roadmaps. So what I did is I took all of this information that I had and tried to organize it into one series and build templates around it. So as we go through this, there'll also be templates for people to use and utilize as they go forward. So the idea here is to provide a roadmap that can be implemented at the club that really helps everybody establish their real value. And your real value can only be fairly judged when there's mutual agreement on the expectations of the golf operation. If you do not have mutual agreement, there's no way that you can be fairly judged. It leads to a whole perception is reality problem, and it doesn't allow you to effectively communicate. So all of our goal here today, and as this series goes on, is to help you be able to do those things yourself. And we want to do that by lessening the burden of establishing these benchmarks, for you in measuring value. So that's the purpose of this whole series, and that's what we're going to go through. So we'll probably jump to what the value proposition objectives are. It's designed to be implemented over a period of time. This isn't something that you're going to go in today and you're going to take all this stuff and bingo, it goes into work. This is designed to be a systematic release of information for you to do with the club that ends up being with you in the driver's seat at the end of the 6 to 12 month period. We're going to try and provide you with the skills necessarily to communicate it consistently. In today's world, communication has gotten much faster. A lot of the traditional means of communicating no longer have as much value. We need to learn how to communicate consistently and have that communication well read. There'll be templates that allow this information to properly be understood by club leaders. This gets back into where the value proposition that I bring to the table with working with these clubs. I understand when they read something, what they're understanding, what they're not understanding. So we've taken that into consideration in building these templates. We're going to help you create a roadmap to successfully increasing your value at the club. And we're going to provide some tools and understanding of the perception is reality dilemma. And lastly, we're going to provide tools to effectively illustrate the obvious to your club leaders. It's kind of simple, but what you're going to see in a lot of this, especially when we go through the vision statement of the core competencies, is a lot of this is obvious to us. But just because it's obvious to us doesn't mean it's obvious to your club leaders, and we need to deal with that. So some of this may seem like, wow, this is really simple, but you know what? A lot of these people don't understand how simple some things are. What we have found out is that there's no question that whatever your club leader's perception of you is a reality of you. This is the same in life. This is the same, whether it's your kids and how they perceive you, that's their reality of you. But what we found in our research is that many times the club leaders have varying perceptions, which means on a board there could be varying perceptions of who you are and what you are, and some of which can be unfair negative perception by the club leaders, which causes a whole set of problems that didn't have to happen. Therefore, it is your responsibility to direct that perception into being an accurate perception and one that portrays you in the favorable light that you'd like to be done. How do you do that? Well, you really do it 4 ways. You communicate effectively, you ensure the objectives are mutually agreed upon. This is a big factor that we'll see as we go forward. And you establish a process to being objectively evaluated. And you create a process that can be easily transitioned from leadership regime to leadership regime. Now, getting back to what I just said about the obvious and the simple, this isn't hard, but what happens is, because typically there aren't systematic communication avenues for a golf professional with the club leaders, and because some of what gets done gets diluted through either a general manager or a different, the golf chairman, reiterating the information, you need to have a system that allows them to have information to go back to use on your behalf. So these are the ways that you conquer the perception is reality dilemma.
Bob, I wanted to say there that as a director of golf, that all rings so true for me. And, I think that what I'm always looking at is trying to set the expectation, for the members. So, they're not setting it for me in my operation, that I want to stay in front of it and set the expectation for them. So that a lot of that rings true for me.
I think that's an excellent analogy there, Patrick. Yeah, you have to be the one setting the tone and what's going on and the vision that happens. And quite frankly, every business has a vision statement. Every business has a mission statement. Every business has a goal and actionable objectives, which we're gonna talk about. And it's not as complicated as you think. Because a vision statement sets the tone for the operation, and it allows you to begin the process of receiving their buy-in. Okay? And you can look at this simple sample. A professional staff that is comprised of engaging, friendly, and talented individuals who are committed to creating and delivering an exciting and innovative golf experience that will be the model by which all others in the Low Country will follow. We were doing this for a specific club in mind. The staff will be dedicated to continuously implementing new and innovative ideas while being respectful of our golf traditions. The goal every day will be to provide comprehensive and unsurpassed services for all our members. That's simple, but it says something. It makes a statement. And that's what you're trying to do with this. You want to tell the people what you're trying to do, okay? So you need to have some elements of a vision statement. You want to define your overall objectives and then create some actionable priorities that then go into a template we've built for core competencies, mission, and actionable priorities. So the overall objectives, it's simple. Contribute to each member's overall enjoyment of the club and the game of golf by readily providing. What do? You provide guidance for the membership. You provide guidance for the staff because you have a plan. And we have an action plan template, so if you needed to create an action plan, you could have that. The action plan helps you guide the staff. This vision will help you guide the staff. You play a positive role in the retention of members for the club. You administer a complete tournament program for men and women through always striving to better organize the notices for events, increase content for the website, and more organized communications. This is what you guys do. This is what you guys do very well. And quite frankly, though, most of the time, the leaders of the club never think through this. They get it, they understand it, but what you want to have is you want to have a document that a board member, when he newly comes on, can read something relatively quickly and understand what you're all about and has something for them to go back and refer to. So what are actionable priorities? You want to improve the instructional program. How are you going to do that? If you have a junior program, you want a dynamic program that meets the skill levels of the participants. Customer service and administration, of the outside operations and caddy program if you have one. A complete shop of carrying golf merchandise to meet the membership's needs and desires. Those are the things that that you want to do. A professional staff that successfully serves the needs of the membership. These are simple things. I get that, but they don't know those. So putting them down in front of them helps, okay? And you have a communication plan to increase member participation through whatever that avenue is at your club, okay? If it's Facebook, if it's Twitter, if it's your club website, whatever it is you can put in there, but you need to have a plan for communicating. And then you simply carry out this program of service at a high standard that I will continually educate and improve myself as a golf professional. You guys do that all the time. And you would welcome their input and any additional priorities from the leaders of the club. See, because what happens here is once they buy into this vision statement and they've read your actionable priorities, and when we go further into the core competencies, you're going to see that they're saying yes to those. They agree that those are the goals and the actionable priorities for each individual aspect of the golf operation. When they buy into that, you now have a platform to be objectively evaluated and setting a standard by which to be evaluated. So that's why the vision statement, and this vision statement can be done on one page and handed out, and it becomes a great thing to give out. Step one in this process. You set the vision for what you want to do for this golf operation. It will be noticed. Then if you back up the vision statement with a core competencies presentation, okay? And in the core competencies presentation, you're going to go through 7 basic areas, and you may have an 8th, you may have a 9th, you may not have junior golf. That may come out. This can be changed, but you're going to see what the trends are here. We address customer service, professional staff, tournament operations, instruction, the retail operation, junior golf and outside operations. Of course, everyone's going to be a little different, but you can modify it. But when you see where we're going with this and how you set it up, it's very simple. And you want each one of these areas to be pretty much addressed on one page. Okay, this isn't about building a 100-page book. This is about building something that's very easy for them to move through and work through, but it gives you the platform to have very intelligent and productive conversations with them. So the elements that we just saw before, each one of those is going to have a summary statement of what it is, a stated goal for that area, and then some specific actionable priorities. Now, we've gone through and addressed some basic actionable priorities that you could use if you don't have your own readily handy, but just to give you an idea of how to think through this whole process. So if we look at core competencies area number 1, customer service. An integral part of carrying through on the mission and vision and mission is charting goals and defining actionable priorities in each core competency. This all starts with our customer service approach, okay? So we say the goal is to create exceptional member and guest experience through delivering superior customer service by knowledgeable professionals that successfully assist in creating unforgettable memories, okay? That's typically what each of you tries to do. Okay, so what are some things that you would talk about, right? That the staff members are trained to anticipate the members' needs and to be proficient in learning their preferences. It's a commitment to servicing all members in a timely manner with follow-ups and conducting. And I'm not going to read through each of these because what will happen is now as you sit down with, let's just say we're going to meet with our golf chairman. Okay, we'll just use a typical club. It may be your owner, it may be your president, it may be the women's committee, whatever it is, but the conversation will go something like this in customer service or any of these areas. Here's our goal. Okay. Do you agree with our goal? Does this cover our goal? Are we on the same page here with this goal? They'll say yes. They may say no. And what they tell you when they add to this is the things that will be of value to putting into your plan. They'll also be of value of things that you're going to want your staff to pay attention to. Okay, so that becomes the roadmap. Then you go through each of the actionable priorities and you ask them, do you have an actionable priority? And they may come back with something. When they come back with something, that really gives you something to work on. But the idea here is to show them what you think, okay? And this is what you think here is what you need to be accomplishing in this season or next season or, as we go through. Let them know that you're continually trying to reinforce to staff members the importance of meeting their responsibilities and exceeding the expectations of the membership. Let them know that's important to you. Let them know that you want the professional staff leaders will continually train, coach, and mentor the support staff to ensure future success in all areas of the golf operation. Let them know what you do from that standpoint. But see, this then, if you go through this in depth with the golf chairman or whoever it is, and then they're meeting with the rest of the club leaders, wow, this becomes good. Now, if you go directly through a general manager, fine. You and the general manager sit down and say you have a shared value here so that you can then give that person the final document to be presented to the board. Don't let your voice not be heard. And if you go through the jump, fine, because you're going to have an agreed upon core competency statement that he or she agrees with you on, okay? So we go through this, and that's customer service. the golf professional staff. We assemble a professional staff that is comprised of engaging, friendly, and talented individuals who are committed to creating and delivering an exciting and innovative golf experience that will be the model by which all others will follow. You know, that's an obvious statement to all of us in this industry. That's not an obvious statement to a club member. And when they see that, they go, oh, okay, I get that. Okay, that's what you're trying to do here. And that's what we're all trying to do. You know, so what are your priorities? You want to hire and train a staff who provides a varying skill sets to assure the most well-rounded group of professionals possible to carry out the duties of the professional staff. I know that's painfully obvious to all of us. We're all hiring people to match up our weaknesses on our operation and go through those. But you know what? They might have thought about it. They might not have thought about it. You know, that you possess a comprehensive understanding of the club rules and regulations. They can uphold these in a positive. Tell them that you're trying to get the members of your staff. You know, education and networking through the local PGA chapter and section, as well as encouraging their involvement in those programs. Tell the leaders of your club that you want your staff to be involved in these things. You know, let them tell you if they want them involved in something else. Do they want them educating other people at the club? Do they want them, you know, whatever it happens to be. But now you're having a conversation that's very positive in nature, but also can be quantified because you can do these things. And if we look here, you know, tournament operations, administer a complete tournament, I get that. Promote events through all possible technology avenues at the club. Well, if this becomes one of the actionable priorities, at the end of the year, you can sit there and sit down and organize a report that says we promoted each of the events, the major events at the club. We sent out a notice, you know, before the event with follow-up notices, you know, however you do it. We signed up through this. We used 4Ts, whatever it is that you use. But now that was an actionable priority. Somebody might say, hey, look, you're promoting the events only through these avenues right now. Could we try this? And well, now you got something to make sure that you follow through on. But all of these, you know, continue to use survey data to evaluate our success with tournament identifiers. If you do that, great. You know, I think it's important to do those things. But now you have an avenue by which to evaluate yourself and your operation at the end of the year. But you also have a document that once they buy into, you can sit down with your staff and go through. Because once you have a shared vision and understanding of what the priorities are for the golf operation, you can accomplish all your goals and objectives. Golf instruction. You know, every one of us is passionate about teaching the game and having people on our staff that can teach the game and make the game more fun for all of our members. We all get that. But there's things that you can do in instruction and let them know about that you do. If you went to attend a seminar with David Ledbetter, Jim McClain, Mike Adams, you know, let them, this is something that you could let them know about, but you could also, you're just telling them what your goals are for the instructional program. Because don't forget, not everybody at your club takes lessons. And you want the non-members, or not non-members, the people that don't participate in the instructional program, you want them to know what goes into building the instructional program and the technology that you use. You know, when you go back to your report, you say, if you use TrackMan, it's a $20,000 tool. You know, if you use V1 software, you use, you know, JC Video, you know, Tommy, whatever it is that you use, you can go back and let them understand that. You think about comprehensive club fitting programs. They don't understand that you need knowledge and, you know, to be able to be a certified club fitter and what that means. But now you have an opportunity to sit down and let them know about that. So it's not, as you're seeing in this, it's not about being complicated here. It's about really stating the obvious and making sure everybody agrees what the obvious is.
The thing about it seems like to me that just sitting back and trying to think about my own situation is that you really can't, not that you want to over communicate, but there's nothing too small that you don't want to tell your members about, whether, you know, your assistant went to, you know, this seminar or whatever. I think it's important. I think what I'm getting is that I need to communicate that more and let them know the value that the staff is bringing.
That's 100% accurate, Patrick. I mean, one of the things that has to happen here is you need to just let them know what's going on and what you believe in. Okay, this is all just about communicating them what your belief system is and letting them buy into your belief system. And if they don't buy into your belief system, well, you work for them, so you need to understand you're hopefully preparing something that matches their belief system, right? That's the goal. Mm-hmm. But if it's not matching their belief system, well, now you get an opportunity to understand what the belief system is. And I think what will happen here is you'll find out that they don't know what to think, and they'll start agreeing with you. And you want to put the things on here that are things that you can actually do. This doesn't have, you can see, there's 4 bullet points here. You could have 3, you could have 5. But if you have 7 areas and you have 3 to 5 in each one, that's 35 actionable priorities. Somebody's going to sit here and say, hey, that's great. You got a lot to do. Yet most of this stuff is it's fairly obvious. Now, when we talk about throwing one step on top of that, exceeding our members' expectations, right? The only way to exceed them is to establish what the benchmark is for the core job, which this will do. Well, you all know, and as you see as you're going through this, you do more than what's just down here, okay? Well, guess what? That's exceeding the expectations. And when you report on that at the end of the year, they go, wow, you accomplished all of our actionable priorities, and, we did this much more. One of our members did a survey of their membership, and a lot of things came in, and information came in, and it was all really positive, as a lot of them would be when you all do these things. But there was a comment that came up when people were able to write whatever they wanted, and it had to do with the pace of play, right? And the pace of play, people were complaining about the pace of play, and they thought it was the golf professionals doing that the pace of play was bad. Yet the golf professional had been trying to implement policies and procedures that needed the board to take actions to be able to effectively change the pace of play. The board wouldn't take those actions. Well, now the golf professional got to find out that everybody thought it was their doing, that slow play was a problem. And it was able to be addressed, and understanding was able to be made. But boy, when you talk about perception as reality, those members' perception was the golf professional wasn't doing their job to correct the slow play when it wasn't even their fault. That's the kind of stuff that we find out when we do these things, and we find out the thought process. So, those are the things that we can overcome through having an understanding of what they're thinking. And this spurs them to do that and to think. Junior golf, those of you that have junior golf programs, boy, you do some incredible things. Let them know what you're doing. Let them know what's behind it. Let them know what you think about with juniors. Even though a lot of junior programs will be implemented by the assistant professionals, the head professional is still guiding the ship and setting the tone. Let them know what your priorities are for junior golf. Each one of you have something different here, and these are just some simple basic ones, but you all do a great job on this, and so take your time and let them know what you want, what your vision is for junior golf. And then outside operations, the first line of defense is the first person that they meet. And I've told this story before, but I'll never forget. Bob Ross calling a meeting the first month I'm working for him. Back in the first year, I'm a golf professional, and he asked the question at the end of the day, who's the most important employee here at the club? And of course, I'm young and new, and I raised my hand and I say, it's you, Bob. And he goes, no. And he was nice to me because I'd only been working there for a couple of weeks. And he said, no, it's the kid I'm paying $3.50 an hour. Yeah, that's how long ago it was. To clean the clubs downstairs. It didn't clean Dr. Smith's clubs, and I had to take 4 hours of Dr. Smith telling me how dirty his clubs were. Right. And so our first line of defense is, the outside operations and the people that they meet. And so you need to make sure that the membership knows that you're trying to get the best out of these people. Now, you're not always going to do that, but at least if they know that you have a program and that you're trying to put the proper checks and balances in place and that you're trying to keep it well stocked and clean, then at least if it's not happening together, you can figure out why. And there's no there's no interpretation, well, the golf professional doesn't care about the outside operations or doesn't, do this. No, you have a plan. And I know every one of you takes, a lot of effort to go in these. So it's just about letting them know what your thought process is for each of these areas. So, those are the 7, priorities. This template is available on the website to be used. There's a vision statement that's on the website that can be used. But this is step 1. And step 1 in this process, is being able to set a vision and establishing what your core competence is. Because if you have this, one of the next steps in this process is building a proper job description for your position. And these actionable priorities and goals and understanding can be the basis of revising your job description, because your job description is what anybody would use, to evaluate you. So we get your job description right, then we can create an evaluation process for your job description. But it all starts here, because if you don't understand what your objectives are and balance them with what their objectives are, you can't build a really good job description. Building a really good job description allows us to build a fair and accurate evaluation process. A fair and accurate evaluation process allows us to be able to maximize what our worth is at the club. And at the end of the day, that's what this process is all about. It's how do we set up a system where you can go through this, so when it's time to talk contract, when it's time to talk renegotiation, you've got to develop what your value is. And your value is that you do a great job. And how do you know you do a great job? Well, the only thing we got now in a lot of ways is what the members think. Well, we've already determined that their perception can be false. So this goes and will help us go a long way towards fixing that and setting a system up. Of course, I'll be available to talk about this at any time, one-on-one. I'd like to throw it back to Patrick. If you have any, final questions before we, end, series 1, just let me know.
Yeah, one thing I was thinking about is we're selling this slide right here about outside operations. That's something that I always focus on, and I'd like to be able to shake everybody's hand that comes on property every day at my club. We do about 34,000 rounds of golf, and it can be a challenge. But I did hear something recently that a member at a normal country club comes into contact with something like 30 some employees every time they come to the club. And, so when I think about that at my club and how, that whatever that comes to, it's a huge number of touch points that we have. And, that as I sit here looking at this slide, it's, it just means so much in your story about the kid in the bag room, to invest the time to, lead by example and be there with them. But, as I went through this and listening to you, Bob, I was just wondering, I'm in my season right now and I've got a lot going on. How hard is this going to be for me to put together, and what should I be prepared for in trying to do that?
Well, the timing of this is more done in the slower seasons. You can start thinking about this now. Defining actionable priorities is not maybe the best thing to do right now, but there's a lot of our clubs that are out of season right now, so this is the time for them to start defining what next season is going to be all about. So this is a part that you do at the end and transitioning into the next season. But what I think is important is to take the template down, go through this, and start to think about what are some of the things that you have in mind for this year, and what were you able to do so that you can build something for 15 at the end of the season. Here's what we set out to accomplish in the beginning of the year. Here's what we accomplished. Did we accomplish everything that you wanted? And here's what we're thinking about for 15. Okay? So you're going into season. You need to use this as if you can develop this and change this quickly, you can get it to your staff to use. But this is an ongoing process that'll be used continuing, because every year you should be having a revisit with the leader and discussing. And quite frankly, what's great about this is you get a new golf chairman and maybe, or a new president or a new general manager, and you've done 3 of these, different presentations, new board members, you can just email them a copy. So it's do it. It's not as much work in putting this together because the templates are all, you could almost go in, change the name, and use the template at a lot of places.
Right.
Because I've taken this input, as you see, from a lot of different places that we've worked with. But it's critically important to be doing this at any time to make sure you understand your own operation the best way possible.
Yeah. And the one thing I think that seems, it's all very, like you said in the beginning, it seems basic, but it's so important to come back to these basics and make sure that that's in front of us every day. I think, guiding us. It seems simple, but it's, you got to have it down there and revisit it and know where you're going.
And I guess I can conclude on this as the end of Series 1, is, one of the things that I saw and see all the time in doing searches for golf professionals is I tell people when they're applying for a job or they're going through an interview, you have to assume that the people you're dealing with don't know. And you can't let them guess, because if they have to guess, they're going to guess the wrong way. So if they have to guess, they're going to guess that, the wrong way. The easiest example is if you don't put down on your resume about playing golf, they'll assume you don't like playing golf, or they'll assume you can't play golf at all. And it may be completely opposite, and you just you didn't put it down because you thought it was going to take away. They might think you're too good a player. I've seen this happen. It really is stating the obvious, but stating the obvious sometimes can be the easiest way for us to get our end objectives and what we want to do, because sometimes we just have to agree on what the obvious is. So, Patrick, unless you have anything else, we'll end this, Series 1. And
no, I just want to say thanks for having me, and thanks for doing this. That's a great value for us.
Thank you. And we'll be back with the second series in 2 weeks, and they'll all be up on the website ready for you to use. So thank you, everybody. And obviously, if anybody has any questions, go ahead and give me a call. Thanks.